Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Diplomat Diaries. This one is particularly special. We have the Russian ambassador to India, Excellency Denis Alipov, with us this afternoon, who will be talking, of course, about the recently very successful visit of the Russian president to India, but also more broadly about India-Russia relations and where Russian foreign policy is headed as we end 2025 and enter into 2026. So I think this is the crowd in the room is of course indicative of this interest that all of us have, both in listening to Excellency about Russia, but also learning more about where Russia-India relations are headed post the visit of the Russian president. This relationship, it goes without saying, India-Russia relationship has withstood the test of time. It has been a very challenging geopolitical environment at times, and one relationship that stood through this flux, stood out through this flux, has been India-Russia relationship. There is a lot that was discussed and that was debated and talked about during the Russian president's visit about this relationship, where this relationship is headed, what kind of benchmarks this visit has set, the 23rd India-Russia annual summit. But also probably in terms of our understanding, it would be interesting to hear from the ambassador where Russia is headed in 2026 as it looks at the geopolitical complexities of the world, as it navigates them along with countries like India that are also navigating this very challenging time, both globally, regionally, as well as domestically, where economies are under strain, where geopolitical polarization is at an all-time high, where global institutions, multilateral institutions are not working. So there is a lot on the agenda to unpack and to think about and to discuss with the ambassador. So let me first invite him for his inaugural remarks, and then we will have a set of questions, a conversation with him, and then we will open this up for your questions, comments, and observations. Excellency, we can have you.
Good afternoon, all. Nice weather today, isn't it? Seems less polluted as usual. And I certainly happy to see you all, and I commend the OIF and Harsh Pant, of course, for convening this event. And I look forward to an enriching exchange of views on topical issues of global and regional significance. But let me first say a few words, and of course I will start with the recent Russia-India summit, which was the 23rd in a row, and has reaffirmed the enduring strength of our strategic partnership. Russia regards this relationship as a stabilizing factor in Eurasian affairs and as a foundational pillar for our two countries, an assessment I think India shares. Our national interests are naturally intertwined. These relations have always been equal, uninterrupted, and mutually beneficial, grounded on consistent trust and mutual respect. This solid foundation allows us to maintain an upward trajectory and to coordinate effectively on international issues. Our leaders demonstrated a shared resolve to strengthen the bilateral partnership across the full spectrum of political and strategic engagement, including defense and security, trade and investment, energy, science, technology, nuclear energy, space, culture, people-to-people relations, education, and beyond. I trust you have reviewed the comprehensive joint statement which reflects these priorities in detail. Allow me to highlight a few salient examples. Among them is a new Russia-India economic cooperation program which sets out a roadmap for key strategic areas of bilateral cooperation through 2030. Agreements on migration and labor mobility establish a framework to facilitate the employment of skilled Indian professionals in Russia. Memoranda of understanding on maritime cooperation will enable the training of Indian seafarers in polar waters and promote joint mineral exploration and extraction in Russia's Arctic region. We have also agreed on to pursue a joint scientific research in healthcare and to strengthen coordination in food safety to facilitate bilateral trade in food products. An arrangement between our customs agencies is also there. It aims to harmonize procedures and simplify trade. Several MOUs have been signed between Russian media organizations and Prasar Bharati to expand cooperation in broadcasting. To further promote people-to-people contacts, we have proposed to the Indian side to introduce a visa-free regime for tourist groups. I'm pleased to note the high tempo of our political engagement and effective functioning of a whole number of bilateral mechanisms, including the two intergovernmental commissions, parliamentary exchanges, dialogue between foreign ministers, national security advisors, joint military exercises, counterterrorism exercises, and many more. Such a steady and reliable partnership is increasingly valuable as we navigate unprecedented turbulence marked by conflicts and distortions in global trade, including unfair practices such as unilateral sanctions, and also such as the EU's carbon border adjustment mechanism, and resistance to the emerging multipolar framework of international relations, which is also evident. The use of sanctions as a political tool undermines confidence in Western financial and trade institutions. And unless authorized by the UN Security Council, such sanctions are illegal and should be rejected. Against this backdrop, reform of global governance and recognition of the growing role of the Global South in the world economy and politics have become urgent priorities. The rising prominence of BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which offered depoliticized and pragmatic cooperation, contributes a lot to reducing external dependencies. In recent years, BRICS has gained significant traction, as you've seen, across the Global South, with its membership doubling last year. We welcome India's upcoming BRICS presidency in 2026. We highly value India's commitment to comprehensive dialogue based on the universal principles of the UN Charter and international law as the only viable path toward building trust, achieving durable solutions, and creating favorable conditions for sustainable development. We support India's intention to build on past achievements, including advancing cooperation within the New Development Bank. We see considerable potential in initiatives such as BRICS, cross-border payment systems, depository and clearing infrastructure, a reinsurance mechanism, a new investment platform, and the BRICS grain exchange. Our shared objective is to provide emerging economies with additional options, irrespective of shifting geopolitical circumstances. Also, the SCO summit last September in China positively influenced regional dynamics through the commitment of the organization to deeper Eurasian engagement. In this context, Russia is advancing its flagship Greater Eurasian Partnership, aimed at delivering shared benefits to all regional countries and regional associations, including the Eurasian Economic Union, the SCO itself, and ASEAN. A key step in this direction will be, in our view, the resumption of the Russia-India-China trilateral dialogue to identify common ground and explore avenues for cooperation. This mechanism can enhance mutual understanding of concerns and sensitivities and contribute to a more secure, prosperous, and interconnected Eurasia. Russia welcomes the normalization of relations between India and China and believes that closer engagement between the two Asian giants will benefit all. Over the past several years, Russia has become India's fourth largest trading partner, with bilateral trade exceeding 70 billion USD in 2024. Yes, through the sales of oil, but still. And we remain a leading supplier of energy, fertilizers, and agricultural products to this country. In the field of nuclear energy, while others speak of intent, Russia delivers in practice. We are India's only foreign partner currently actively constructing nuclear power plants. Long-standing defense cooperation has made Russia a partner of choice for the Indian armed forces, a relationship that is now expanding in line with India's Make in India and self-reliance initiatives. Russia stands ready to meet India's demand for cutting-edge solutions in space exploration, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, cybersecurity, and Arctic resource development. The expansion of educational exchanges is also encouraging, with more than 30,000 Indian students currently studying in Russia. Among existing and prospective areas of cooperation are civil, aircraft engineering, infrastructure development, railways and transport engineering, metallurgy and shipbuilding, the chemical and petrochemical industries, fintech, smart cities, water management, labor mobility, and many more avenues. So I am confident that we will continue the upward trajectory of our partnership, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
You touched upon a number of issues. One of the things that has often struck the observers is, and in particularly this time at the summit, there was a lot of focus on economic and trade, which is perhaps long overdue also. But in terms of the emphasis that had been put, that has been going into this side of the relationship, both sides have been working for a while, and there have been some limited success. I think a lot of the trade has to do with the energy trade that has brought this relationship. Are there any specific proposals on the agenda at the moment to enhance this economic aspect of the relationship? Because that is certainly crucial given how the geoeconomics is evolving. But also there was at one point in time the suggestion about Indian investments in Russian Far East, which was something that was talked about. How far have they gone, and then do you see that being making much of an impact as of now?
Without exaggeration, there are tens of proposals on the table between us in trade and economic cooperation and investments. Some of them do materialize and have materialized, are in the process, like in the fertilizer production, and I'm speaking of potential joint ventures. Some are in the making. On some, we continue discussions. You correctly pointed out that there are impediments. But we have always been very open and very proactive towards India, and have proposed a lot of initiatives. India has proposed some of the initiatives bilaterally in various fields. You mentioned Arctic. Arctic is one of them. India is very interested in Arctic exploration and the Arctic penetration economically, scientifically. So we have concluded during the summit some of the MOUs aimed to push forward the work in many of the directions in trade and joint production. I mentioned the program, the roadmap in strategic areas which we have discussed last year when Prime Minister visited Moscow. This was discussed then, so we have built on that discussion. Once it is published, I think it will be available to for all to study. But I will not deliberate on that at the moment, since we are speaking on strategic areas. And I must also say that there are attempts to disrupt our relationship. And so on many tracks, we have kept our bilateral decisions and agreements under wrap, so that not to give the opportunity for those who want the India-Russia relations be reduced, give them the opportunity to interfere. This is a very important point. There have been recently not only a lot of attempts, but whenever it is possible, there are such intentions and attempts to interfere in our bilateral relations, whereas our relationship has never been directed against anybody. And we have always stressed that pointedly. This is not the case of our competitors or adversaries in the world. And sometimes they openly say that and proclaim that and advise India not to do business with Russia, which is, in my opinion, an outrageous attitude. So we have achievements, but we try to keep them between us so that we do proceed and achieve results.
Excellency, two points on some of the things that you mentioned about the plurilateral structures, BRICS and SCO, and also your hope that RIC becomes a platform which once again starts functioning. One is, this is of course the year of India's BRICS presidency. So what are your ambitions from the BRICS and India's presidency going forward? But also on the wider issue of Russia-China relations. I think there are some apprehensions in some quarters as to where this relationship is going and whether this relationship can also be an impediment to India-Russia relationship. How would you respond to that?
We're looking forward to India India's presidentship in BRICS next year. It has broadly outlined its priorities. Will certainly elaborate on them in the days and the months to come. Will propose a comprehensive program, a detailed program, which will stretch throughout the next year. And I think India will do a great job at as it did for G20 when it presided over G20 a couple of years ago. So it's going to be a very intensive and very interesting next year with India at the chair in BRICS. As regards our relations with China, I have noticed that many political observers, analysts in this country, you included, make a very wrong assumption. Our relations with any country, China included, have never been directed or to the detriment of our other partners. This is our principled and consistent approach to international relations. Our relations with India, Russia-India relations, are not directed against China or anybody. The same applies to our relations with China. I read a lot of analysis about how we currently become dependent on China in many ways. This is also very wrong. We have proposed to China to do more trade, to do more economic relations. China reciprocated. We proposed to India to do the same. India also reciprocated less actively, but still. But it doesn't make us more dependent on India. And it doesn't India make more dependent on Russia. It is about the expansion of trade, about the expansion of interactions in various fields, in science and technology. We have a lot to propose to China in technologies. There's a lot of buzz about artificial intelligence currently. And many global giants come to India with proposals to establish manufacturing facilities in this country, to do more research, joint research in this country. But a little less attention is given to what Russia or others have to offer. And we do have a lot to offer in this topical mainstream, area, like artificial intelligence. So we readily share nuclear technologies with India. India has a lot to offer in quantum computing. It's a win-win situation between us and China. And I think this is the only way to do business on a win-win basis, but not on the what is the English expression? Zero sum basis.
So, Excellency, taking this conversation forward, uh, what is Russia's ambition or aspiration when it comes to Asia Pacific or Indo Pacific, as we call it? Uh, what kind of a role Russia envisions for itself in this part of the world, given that in some ways the center of gravity is moving, has already moved both economically and strategically in this part of the world? Because we do not hear as much from Russia on this. We hear that there are bilateral partnerships, there are Russia, China, Russia, India. But is there a vision as to what kind of a role you want to play in this part of the world?
Certainly, we want to play and are playing a very active role in Asian affairs. Russia is as much a nation country as it is a European one. And we have increased our Asian vector recently for two reasons. The one is the obvious trend, global trend, according to which, Asia is rising, Asia has risen, India is rising, and many more. There are many more examples in Asia. I think this region is going to be the this has been stated for quite some time already. I'm not saying anything new. Asia is becoming a center of global politics and especially the global economic development. On the contrary, Europe is in decline. And the US itself is no longer a sole superpower, no matter what you think. We think this is an irreversible trajectory in global politics and economy. And against this, Asia is rising. And naturally, we focus our foreign policy much more on Asian affairs. So this is one reason. The other is that we have given priority to Asia more than to Europe, not because we want to neglect Europe. Europe has stopped the dialogue with us. If there is no dialogue, well, then there is no dialogue. We do not insist. We have always been open. But this is the European choice, and I think to the not only to the detriment of Europe, but to the irreversible, reduction of its global posture and positions. So our Asian vector is very much obvious. We, as I have pointed out, have our own flagship initiative in Asian affairs, the Eurasian partnership, open to all, Europe included, which it's a broad framework for cooperation in various fields on an equal basis for those who want to engage in that cooperation and partnership. And we promote this initiative. But besides, we have been actively working in ASEAN on various tracks. We are eager to play a more prominent role in many other regional structures and organizations, formal or informal. The Arctic topic in this sense is very important, because we have been developing the northern Arctic route, and that implies the natural ways into Pacific. We have now been speaking about not only the northern sea route, but the trans-Arctic corridor, northern sea route included, from Vladivostok to St. Petersburg, the trans-Arctic corridor. A very promising transport avenue, actually, as an alternative to traditional transport routes through the Suez Channel. So Asia is on top of our agenda currently, and it's only natural.
I have two final questions before I open this up to the audience. One is one of the things that was much talked about during President Putin's visit was, and which is very interesting, is this labor mobility issue, and a lot of there is a lot of interest and there is a lot of effort that is going on from both sides. How do you envision this labor mobility pact unfold over the next few years? Because the numbers are quite significant that I mentioned. And do you anticipate those numbers being met, or we have also had some of the issues pertaining to some Indians fighting the wars in Russia? Do you think that would be an impediment in that regard as we expand the scope of labor mobility, or do you think those concerns have been met, and this can therefore open new avenues for human resource collaboration, which is going to be central and which I think has been in some ways not very prominent feature of India-Russia relationship since the end of the Cold War. We have I think during the Cold War, the kind of exchanges that we have had at the people-to-people level, somehow they came down in the last few decades. And I think academically, I think there are a number of students here sitting in the audience. I think that reviving that aspect is also critical insofar as India-Russia relationship is concerned. But more broadly on labor mobility, which is slightly different, but also I wanted to bring in the people-to-people element also in this conversation.
But we don't have any numbers yet as regards the labor mobility between us. We have only started this track. Those agreements we concluded of framework nature, but we are interested to expand on that. And India is also interested to explore the Russian market more, the Russian labor market more. But still, we currently, I think, around 70,000 Indians are working in Russia, which is and this number has grown multifold recently, in recent years. The unfortunate incidents of those Indian citizens who found themselves in the Russian army, yes, it is a problem, but we have been very open between us on that, and actually very quite effectively dealt with this problem. Russia has never recruited Indians in the Russian army. This is the result of solely the result of various unscrupulous recruiting agencies who offer something different to the aspirees, and then they found themselves signing contracts. But we have stopped that practice a year ago. Earlier this year, publicly said that, and do not do that. Specifically, have put a block on the Indian, as Indian nationals are concerned, so that we do not have such instances any longer. But I repeat, we have not recruited anybody, be it the Indians or other nationals. Those who approach, they approach voluntarily. But we have volunteers from India, and we have stopped that. But generally, the prospects are huge in the Russian market, labor market. We have a shortage of laborers in various fields, and a large number of migrants is coming from Central Asian republics, but we want to look beyond. And India is one very obvious and very promising partner in this. You were also speaking about students and yeah, but you know, there is these Soviet-Indian relations were marvelous in many ways, and but there is no longer a Soviet Union, and India is very different. And we, in many ways, started afresh. 34 years ago, when Soviet Union disintegrated, spent a decade, you know, focused on our domestic relations, very turbulent 1990s in Russia. India, you know, we're undergoing economic reforms, initiated economic reforms at that time, diversifying the partnerships, and currently it's very different countries. So we actually, at the moment, have a lot to gain and learn from India. When during the Soviet-Indian relations, India was learning and gaining from the Soviet Union. So it's a more balanced and more natural partnership currently we have. A two-way exchanges of people, of experience, of expertise. We have very seriously studied the new education program India introduced. Was that a couple of years ago? And more and more Russian universities come to India not only to recruit students, but also with proposals for academic exchanges, educational exchanges, so that Russian students can study in India, so that we can have joint research programs in various fields. We are yet to establish branches of Russian universities in this country, but I think this is going to be the next step.
Excellency, one last question from me, which is which will be about the present state of the battlefield in Ukraine. Do you see this 2026 also a continuation, or given the proposals and counter proposals that are there on the table at the moment, do you anticipate that we are moving to a phase where very soon we may have some sort of an, not a resolution, but perhaps management of the battlefield in some ways, which perhaps is reflective of the mood, maybe in some quarters in Washington or in Ukraine or in Moscow?
I think you understand that I'm not privy into the details and can only comment on what we all see. And what we see is, I think, a very genuine attitude and an effort by the US to achieve results in terms of peaceful resolution of this conflict. And against that, we watch the position of Ukraine, and especially the attitude of Europe to the solution, which has become a stumbling block and the main obstruction to the peace process. This is not going to help. We have always been open to the peaceful resolution. I have pointed that out on many occasions. We never wanted this war to start, but there was no dialogue with us. Has never been a genuine dialogue with us, and NATO, Europe, and the then US leadership never listened to our concerns, never took them into account. If there is no dialogue, then there is the basis for actions. And I also, in this connection, would like to point out that, in our opinion, the war in Ukraine started way back in 2014, not in 2022. In 2014, by the Ukrainian government itself against its own citizens in the East. Those Russian-speaking Ukrainian citizens who requested Russia to come to help. And this is what we did. The world suddenly woke up to our going in Ukraine in 2022, but it seems never noticed the military actions in the east of Ukraine prior to 2022, which started in 2014. And since then, over those 8 years, hundreds of civilians died. Full-fledged military assault was launched by Kiev against Donbas, using heavy artillery, various military equipment, regular army, and especially those nationalist battalions with very explicit Nazi, elements in them. Nobody spoke about that, even in Europe, because the Europeans created that regime in Kiev in the first place. That was their creation against the Minsk agreements, which were designed to, to stop the military actions and the use of military in the intra-Ukrainian conflict prior to 2022. Those agreements were disrupted and rejected by Ukraine and Europeans themselves, not by us. So it's very wrong to accuse Russia of aggression, of violation of international borders. Ukraine itself, in the first place, violated the international norms, the human rights, the right of its own citizens for self-determination. This, when we speak about UN Charter, when we speak about international law, we should look at all these principles in totality, not to pick out some of them and apply to different aspects, and the various situations within the whole of Ukraine conflict. This is very important. We now expect the proposals with which the US comes again after the negotiations with Ukraine, whether having them in Berlin or where. And we will study them. But it's for Ukraine to decide what it wants, to continue or to have a peaceful agreement with us. We are prepared to both. Ukraine, I think, is in no position to make any conditions.
I've completely run out of time, and much as I had hoped that we would be able to take most of you, but if the ambassador is here for a few more minutes, maybe you can have a private conversation with him. But we have, I think, we have to close this conversation now. Thank you, Excellency, for joining us this afternoon for a very candid conversation on a whole host of issues.
Thank you.
Please come back again, and I hope all of you learned what was the intention here, and we hope to carry this conversation forward.